Good evening, everybody. This meeting held in the Aldine School Gymnasium is an open session of the Roselle Park Board of Education, held under the Open Public Meetings Act of the State of New Jersey. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Star Ledger, Union Leader, Home News Tribune, Borough Clerk, school offices, and district website. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
President Miller.
Here.
Vice President Harms.
Here.
Mr. Balaban. Mr. Bowman.
Here.
Mr. Breppenstein.
Here.
Mr. Dam.
Here.
Mr. Girton. Mr. Nelson.
Here.
Mr. Vita.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out on this chilly night. We're going to start our first public participation portion of the evening tonight for agenda items only. If you'd like to come up and speak about an agenda item, please state your name and address and what agenda item you'd like to speak on.
Saul appears at 150 Berwyn Street. Agenda item number 9. Is that the only salary stipend he will be paid for that?
Well, yes, it's a volunteer position, and that is what we pay volunteers.
We like this.
$1.
Everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, does he have any other positions within the wrestling program? Thank you very much.
No.
Jacob McGill, 612 Sheridan, in Roselle Park. Basic general audience, viewing audience, members of the board, Mr. Garrido, Mr. Miller. Good evening.
Good evening.
Was there any action taken on closed session?
No.
None. What is the matter, number 2, matters of attorney-client privilege? Is that for a board member or for a teacher?
It's a confidential personnel matter. Confidential personnel matter. A confidential personnel matter.
Oh, that sounds better.
Sorry.
I'd rather address the board instead of the plank.
Yeah.
Thank you. He's fine.
We got it. Plank is hurt. Thank you. Plank is hurt.
Moving right along, we'll go to the committee reports. We'll close the first public participation portion of the evening, and we will move on to committee reports. Does anyone have a committee report they'd like to share?
Mr. President, last committee items on the calendar for 2015-16. We had our first meeting today. Kind of went over 2 scenarios. The other committee members are going to be looking at it to, see which one they're going to go with. But we had a very good discussion on it, and I think it went well.
And do you know the time frame for that, when possibly the final calendar will be out for board approval?
Next meeting. Next meeting we should have it.
Great, thank you, Mr. Arms. I know there were some people in the community asking about the calendar, so it's good to see that the calendar is being worked on and collaborated with the staff and administration. Anyone else? Seeing there's none, we'll close committee reports, and now we'll go to the superintendent's report. Good evening, Mr. Rio.
Good evening, Mr. Miller. Thank you. First of all, I would like to congratulate Mr. Santa Parvano and the custodial staff for a great job. We've had some challenging weather the past couple of days. We had a closed Monday. We were able to have a regular school day today and not disrupt the full day of students' instruction. And really the credit goes to the entire custodial staff. And I see Councilwoman Story here. I also want to commend the DPW at the town. I drove the streets very early this morning. I wanted to make sure that both the sites, the buildings, and the streets were clean, and I couldn't believe how amazed I was by how clean, safe, and clear of snow, and it was a very difficult storm to clean. So congratulations to both. They really did a phenomenal job to get kids to school in a safe manner. I just want to report on a couple of items. First of all, I did report on our CUSAC self-assessment last month. We have been informed by the County Department of Education that we will be monitored. They will be coming in for a visit, a review visit, February 24th through the 26th. The visit will include a desk audit. They come in and they will perform a desk audit in the board, make sure that everything is in place. Our self-assessment, we did wonderfully, and we scored very high. They will also visit our facilities, visit our the classrooms in each of the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school. So we're looking forward to have them here and show them what great things the district is doing. The second item that I want to report on is just a very brief grant writing update. So far we have the grant writer submit 4 grants application. I did go over the grants at the last meeting, and he is right now compiling information for a 5th grant, a literacy grant, that will be able to use it for after-school programs. So we're looking forward to that. As soon as we get any results, I will report it to the public and to the board. On January 22nd, the high school had an 8th grade orientation, but for the first time this year, we also had an open house for grades 6 and 7. The turnout was great. It was very well received by almost 200 parents that attended. They were very, very impressed with the different programs that the high school has in place, and actually everything that we're doing for the students academically, as well as the extracurricular. So my congratulations to Mrs. Costa and the entire staff at the high school. They did a phenomenal job, really a great job all around. The next thing that I want to report, the Department of Education has made public the 2013-14 school performance report for all the districts in the state. I am pleased to report that we met 100% targets in student growth in all of our buildings. So that is a bit of good news. By student growth is measured by students' improvement from one year to the next in the state assessment, which was the NJ Ask. So what that means is that our students from last year to this year, they made improvement in growth. So we're looking at that very carefully. Also, our high school was designated a high-performing school in student achievement, as well as in graduation and post-secondary measures. There was marked improvement in the percentage over the previous year in both graduation rate, post-secondary measure, and academic performance also. I believe it was in academic achievement, it was 5% within our peer group from the previous year. So we're very, very pleased and very happy with that accomplishment. Our middle school was designated high performing in student achievement and college and career readiness. So we're very proud of the work that our staff, the entire staff, is doing here to provide students with a top-notch education. That's all I have to report for you tonight. Thank you, Mr. Miller, thank you.
Mr. President, can we have this, we got that new marquee, would it be able to put this achievement that we've made, especially for our high school, put on there some kind of, work to it?
Absolutely. Actually, Mrs. Costa is putting something up on the website, on the high school website, on our performance, and I'm sure we can put something on as well. Why not?
That's something that
We're very proud and we should advertise it. Absolutely.
And if our high school is high performance,
Mhm.
our residents should know that also.
That's correct. At a later date, I'll do a full presentation, a PowerPoint on our performance so the public can see each component and how we scored. So that will probably be either March or April. I want to review very carefully the entire report before I do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garrido. And now we're going to move on to personnel, where I'd like someone to make a motion to approve agenda items 1 through 9. 1 being district substitutes, 2 being degree change, 3 being staff resignation, 4 being leave of absence requests, 5 being leave of absence request, 6 being leave of absence request, 7 being staff appointments, 8 being Roselle 2015 Roselle Park summer camp salaries, and 9 being high school volunteer coaches. Good. Mr. Harms, do I have a second? Second, Mr. Dam. Are there any questions or comments? Just want to thank Mr. Iacano for volunteering as a wrestling coach. Item number 9. Roselle Park we need as many volunteers as possible, and that's good. He sets a good example for others to follow. Roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
Vice President Harms,
Yes?
Mr. Balaban, Mr. Bowman,
Yes.
Mr. Breckenstein,
Yes.
Mr. Dam,
Yes.
Mr. Gurton, Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Vita,
Yes.
President Miller.
Yes.
On roll call, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And now we're on to education, where I'd like someone to make a motion to approve agenda items number 10 through 12. 10 being 2015 Roselle Park Summer Camp, 11 being education programs, and 12 being educational trip requests. Mr. Nelson, second.
I'll second.
Mr. Vita, second. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Those items are passed. And now we're on to business, where I'd like someone to make a motion to approve agenda items 13 through 16, 13 being approval of bills, 14 being the Secretary Treasury report, 15 being approval of minutes, and 16 being the use of buildings and grounds.
I'll move it.
Mr. Harms, second. Second, Mr. Dam. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Those items have passed. And now we're on to continuing business. Mr. Garrido.
Mr. Miller, there have been 2 students throughout the year identified as not residing in Roselle Park, and therefore they have been removed from the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garrido. And now we're on to new business. Does anyone have new business to report?
Yes, I just want to remind the public, next Tuesday, we have our second literacy night for the year here at Aldine School for grades 2 and 3. The reading recovery teachers always do a wonderful, wonderful job in providing the students with, and the parents, with a really nice literacy night to promote literacy in the elementary grades. So I want to thank him in advance, and please join us. It is at 7 p.m. It actually is on the elementary website. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure if it's 6:37, but we'll make sure that we get it out advertised. Please check the website. The elementary website is on it.
Sure.
At the previous meeting, a question was given with regard to elementary lunch, and I promised that I would investigate and report back to the board. So I have that information to give to you tonight. What I'm distributing to the board members at the moment is the elementary lunch menu for the month of February, which I downloaded from the elementary website, and something that all parents have access to. At the last meeting, a question was raised about a child receiving mozzarella sticks for lunch on a given day. And I believe the question was asked whether or not it was correct that all they would receive is 3 mozzarella sticks. If you look at this lunch menu, you will see that one day in the month of February, baked mozzarella sticks is the meal of the day, only once a month. It is correct that the federal guidelines calls for the portion control for an elementary student to be 3 mozzarella sticks. However, that is not all the child is to receive. The child should also receive with that the vegetable of the day and the fruit of the day, along with milk or juice. So there's more to the meal, and they should be receiving all components. They do not have the option to not take the full meal. They must get the full meal. I want to explain that on any given day, in addition to that meal of the day, a child also has 4 other options. If they did not like the mozzarella sticks that day, they could instead opt for choice 2, a salad lunch, choice 3, a bagel meal, choice 4, a yogurt lunch, or choice 5, a deli sandwich. So on every given day of the month, there are actually 5 complete lunches that a child could opt for at the elementary level. And again, it would consist of the main item, also a cup of vegetables, and also a half a cup of fruit, along with the milk or juice or water that they are. I think it's milk or non-fat chocolate is the drink. And again, the portion sizes are all controlled by the federal government. It's actually weighed and measured, and they must comply with those federal regulations. I don't know if there's any other questions with regard to this.
No, I just thank you for coming back with this information. I think it's good for our residents to know what their children are getting in school, and I thank you. The only question I have, are we ensuring, I guess what you said before, that they don't have the choice of not to receive the vegetable or the dessert, or the fruit? And again, now we're talking first graders, kindergarten, second graders that might not do it. There's, is somebody ensuring that they do get that? Have we questioned that?
Each lunchroom has several employees within it. Those employees consist of the Pontonian employees as well as the teachers that we hire as lunchroom aides, as well as the Roselle Park residents that we employ as lunch monitors. So yes, there's a large number of adults in the lunchroom with them as they go through the line to pick up each of these items. By the time they reach the end of the line where there is the register, they must have all components on the tray, and it is the responsibility of these employees to ensure that the child has put all of the items on their tray. I've reminded administration to make sure that they're overseeing their employees, to make sure that they're doing their job, just like we always look over our employees to make sure they're all doing their jobs. So I've reminded them of that.
And again, thank you for this information you brought back to us. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. And again, this is accessible on the district website for each building at all grade levels. So you can download this menu or just, pull it up and look at it.
I'll link to it on the Facebook site as well, if people use that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Meeting.
I'll link to it on the Facebook site. To it on the Facebook site for anybody that uses that.
Great, thank you, Mr. Meeting.
Thank you.
On a couple other notes with new business, this just pertains to Mr. Bowman and Mr. Harms, as does any newly elected board member. Yeah, I was going over my emails the other day and I saw an email from the Department of Education for financial disclosure forms that we need to fill out and submit in a timely manner. We get so many emails a day, sometimes you glance over it.
You have 30 days from the time you're elected to put it in, so.
Yeah.
You gotta get it in real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's pretty self-explanatory.
Already completed that.
Good job. Excellent, Mr. Bowman. And also, board members, I sent you an email today concerning the park testing. I wanted to, I sent you a link to the park tutorial, and it just goes through what's expected of grades 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and so on. But if you just, I focus on 3 through 5, obviously, because I'm a third grade teacher. But it's a nice little walkthrough that you can get a tutorial on what is expected of our children during tests. And then also there's another link that you can actually take a practice test. So, show are you as smart as a third grader? Give it a shot. And I think it's just good to walk in the sneakers that our children are going to be walking in a couple weeks. So, but it's just eye-opening, and it just gives you a good perspective on that park assessment. Also,
Mr. President, just one on that subject.
Yes.
I guess in the past week or so, there's been a lot in the papers about students, parents, having their child not take the test. And has the district looked into anything if this is going to happen, or are we having plans for it, or have we had anybody come forward saying that they don't want their child taking it? Or are we going to be prepared for it?
Mr. Holmes, the district right now is standing by what the state is saying. We are not opting out of the test because the state is saying that students must take the test. So we're just following the same as we did with the NJS. So we right now do not have an opt-out policy. We are not thinking of having that. And again, I think there's an experience. I remember back 14 years ago when the NJS came, there was some of the same anxieties, reactions from parents and the students, and they all survived. The test did evolve, and I believe that PARC is a test that right now is new, and it will evolve, and I think it's going to have some good merit, where the district's going to be able to use it to really assess students' learning. So that's what we stand right now with that.
and on another note, I just wanted to inform everyone about something I've been talking about in the last few board meetings, and that is the performance of the robotics club in the high school. This past weekend, they had another competition, and they fared very well. And there's a couple points I just wanted to highlight for you that Mr. Chin and I discussed. And at this past tournament, they had there's two separate contests. One was where the robot, the machine that they created is operated by an operator and to do various tasks. And then there's another one where it's autonomous, where the robot is placed on a pad and then they just press a button and it goes and it does certain tasks, and it's judged. The criteria is like how many tasks can it complete, and then it accrues certain points. And in that first category, they did very well, and they placed third place, and in autonomous, and then 17th place, and in another one they placed 17th out of 41 teams. So 17th in one category and third place in the other, and then also in another competition they placed first in autonomous programming with 17 points, and that achievement is very good because that's the highest score in all of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut combined in that competition. So we're really, really proud of our high schoolers and for their accomplishments in that competition. And now they are moving on to qualify for a state competition, which is going to be at Cherry Hill High School East on February 21st. So if you get a chance to go down there and support our Panthers, that would be great, because I think it's a wonderful opportunity. And statistically, here's another one too. Among the world rankings, we're currently ranked 46 overall in autonomous programming out of thousands of teams that are competing across the world. So that's pretty good for our little mile square town, and I'm very proud of them. And so they did a good job. And February 21st is the next date for the states, and I'm excited to see how they do it. I wish them well, as we wish all of our athletic and academic teams and clubs well. Anyone else? Seeing as none, we'll close and we'll enter the second public participation portion of the evening. If you have anything you'd like to talk about, please come and state your name, address, and what you'd like to talk about.
Jacob McGillis, Exposure, Roselle Park. Mrs. Gershio, may I have a copy of that list you have? Well, Mrs. Gershio's.
Oh, come on.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Question. Do teachers eat in the cafeteria with the students?
Teachers have a teacher's cafeteria where they eat. In most buildings, teachers have a teacher's cafeteria where they eat.
Do they eat the same food?
If they opt to purchase a meal, they would be purchasing the same food. And just like the students, they always have the opportunity to bring food in from home.
Do they pay the same price?
There is a set price that we establish once a year, and I believe the adult cost is higher than the student price. Exactly what it is, I don't remember, but we do approve that once a year in a board agenda, so you could look back in old board agendas to find out the exact dollar amount.
And how often does the administration follow the guidelines, federal guidelines, for the food serving, how much is waste, etc.?
Food company must follow daily the federal guidelines to be in compliance. Every day when they select their menu, they are following the guidelines established by the federal government.
Maybe I should come and see you tomorrow so you can explain it better.
Sure, not a problem.
Not understand, comprehend it. Thank you.
Saul Kirsten, 150 Berwyn Street.
He did not. I expected him to be here, and I hope everything's okay because he had some things he wanted to speak about.
I as well. Agenda item 8. The lifeguard and the pool manager. Is that the pool in the high school?
Yeah, this is for summer camp.
It looks kind of small to me. How many people can fit in that pool? I'm not, I mean, it looks, I don't know.
You have to keep in mind that it is designed for the children who attend the summer camp, and they could be 3 years old, 4 years old. So
Understand.
varying depending on the size of the child.
Like, is it like 2 people is the limit in that pool? I mean, it looks very small.
There-
It's a
15 foot pool.
It's a 50-foot pool?
15 foot round.
Oh, 50. Feet 1.5, not 5.0.
No.
That's a big difference. Okay,
not yet.
We can always hope.
Yes.
Maybe that grant will come in.
Yeah.
We can have it called the length of that.
It would take up the whole court right there.
Okay, and then I guess the pool manager actually I find more important because that's the person who chlorines the pool and keeps it clean. Okay. For the out of district, or I'm sorry, the continuing business for the students not residing, I presume there are still outstanding ones because the number hasn't changed, but
There are still outstanding.
okay. For the lunch, and I guess I'm coattailing on Board Member Harms's question. So they go on a line and they get their main serving. And then when they go to the next one, does someone give them something? Or do the children just go, I'll take it, and if they don't take it, they just...
The food is set up.
Like a buffet, let's say.
Right, and it is served to them by servers, so they will take the main portion, if it should be mozzarella sticks or cheeseburger on a bun or cheesesteak on a bun.
Mozzarella sticks for a meal? It's like... I'm not
And in addition to that, they also are given a choice of a fruit, which they put on their tray,
Okay.
and a choice of a vegetable, which they put on the tray. So those 3 items, along with their skim milk or non-fat chocolate milk, completes
Right.
their meal.
I guess what I'm
All
asking
the
is...
items.
Right. So we'll just presume that Mr. Birkenstein is the main course, Mr. Bowman is the fruit, Mr. serves the fruit, and Mr. Holmes serves the vegetable. So I go in, and I'm 8 mentally, and I go get my first serving, and then I go to the next one. Does Mr. Bowman say, what do you like? What do you want? Apples? Or do I just pick one, and if I don't pick one, I go to the next one?
No, they must select a fruit, they must select a vegetable. And by the time they get to the end of the line,
To Mr. Dan
It's
with the
the-
cashier.
his responsibility to ensure that all 3 components are on the tray. And if not, then
I mean, that's just a lot because then you've got those other options. So if the kid said no, I pick another option. Mr. Dan has to keep that.
but at the end, they must have,
Okay.
all 3 components on their tray.
And this is just for kids who decide to pay the lunch as opposed to kids who bring the lunch. They can bring 2 mozzarella sticks if they want.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Um,
And they do have the option of purchasing more than 1 meal if the parent so chooses to pay for 2 meals, and that
And then
is
it's-
possible.
guess that was the other question because we had discussions about, I don't have a child in the school system yet, in the elementary school, but I was told, maybe I heard it incorrectly, that you couldn't pay the day of. So suppose I want another meal. Is that possible to do? Or do they have to pay, I guess, that week in advance? The pay-for-it system?
They could pay in advance, they could also bring money
Okay.
in to school. Maybe the confusion is that they bring it in the morning and it is established first thing in the morning in their classroom if they're purchasing a meal.
So it's not on the fly. The kid's like, I like that, let me get another one. That can't happen. That cannot happen. I go and I go, I really like that food, and I can go back. I cannot do
I like the
that.
hamburger, so I like it.
Right. unless my parent paid for it in advance. I cannot, at the end, say I want to buy again, or can I?
I will have to check into that because
Because I was told that
should be given that option of
I
buying.
don't want to put everyone on the spot, but I don't.
No.
believe I can.
I mean, that's a good question because
That's a
Mr.
good
Majere-
question, and I will check into that one for
Mr.
you.
Majere asked, I'm assuming, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that he was asking about the waste.
Right.
Okay, if you heard the same thing, I guess my question would be, if we have this waste, if I have a student come in and how much do I bring in extra of that hamburger or that mozzarella stick or that fruit or the whatever it might be? Because I couldn't see anybody taking that fruit now and putting it back in the truck or wherever they bring it from and bring it back to their wherever and then bring it the next morning back again. So I guess it's
If the child opts not to eat it, it goes in the garbage.
No, you're right,
Okay.
and I understand that. So if I don't like that the cherries that I got that particular day, or I don't like the potatoes, and it's on my tray, obviously I'm going to throw it away if I don't like it. But what I'm hearing here is that if I felt good and I said, hey, I like that hamburger, or I like that the cherries, I want some more cherries. So I go back up there and I pay whatever that particular thing is. How many do they bring? So what I'm saying, if there's 50 kids, let's just use numbers. If there's 50 kids that want to do this and they only have 25, well, how do they tell the other 25 they can? And if they bring in 25 and only 2 want it, what do they do with the other 23? You know, where I'm going is it right? I mean, right. Oh, okay. Is that the bid that they put in there for this? Is that added to, overage? Like you're building a house, so it's always 10% more on materials, the cost. Is this the 10% added on in case they have waste? I'm only asking because, again, I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong, but these are just things that are being brought up here now that's kind of, I'd like to know, just, what do we do
For next
with
meeting, I will check into whether or not it's possible to buy a second meal.
On the spot.
And if so, can it only be done in advance or can it be done on the spot? So I will check into that for you.
Thank you.
And
Right, no, I appreciate it, but these are just things like, are we paying this extra for these things here that might not be eaten?
Right.
And then actually thrown away? That's all, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and in my experience, where I work, I have the Pomptonian food service as well, and every morning, it depends on whose job it is, one of my students will do a lunch count. And so there is a set number, and if it's pizza Friday, then if a child wants an extra slice, then they pay for that extra slice, and then they have to provide the money for that extra slice that day. But I think, and this is just my experience, which would be totally different.
Right,
It's
based on the contract,
yeah.
the contract.
But I mean, I'm pretty sure that it's an exact count, and even so, I think I mean, where I work, and from my perspective, that's what it is. But it may be different for others.
I mean, it makes sense on the business end.
Right, yeah, to eliminate
I
waste.
think that's why you do it in the morning.
Right.
So when it goes down to whoever it goes to, they
They go.
call up the company and go, hey, Joe, send me
Yeah.
15 pies, send
Yes.
me whatever it would be, so you don't have this waste.
Right.
Because why
Like
would
all those
we
Seahawk
want-
cupcakes.
Well, no, I'm just saying that, to me, it's a wasted for food, when people are going hungry, and we're just.
Right. Exactly. I mean, and again, because that was an observation I got from parents telling me I couldn't do that. I needed to right. And I just want to make sure that
Right.
whichever's correct. I want to make it
It's
clear.
important
Right.
that we get the facts and get them out to the public, so I will
Thank you.
definitely bring that information back to you the next board meeting.
My feeling was that there was extra food, not in elementary, but middle and high school, there's a second fall, and if you have money in your account, you should get extra food if they have.
Well, and with that said, and that for the high school and all, because they're bigger, they're stronger kids. But again, that should be, the parents should know this. I mean, these are things that we should know, so if my child, because as again, we had this gentleman, a young boy that came here saying I didn't get enough to eat, and if that's the case, and if they tell me they can go back, well then mom will give me some more money so I can go back and get another hamburger.
Right.
Yeah, it's not in the account, then you get cash.
Correct.
Right, yeah, I mean, that, you know.
Thank you very much.
And we'll get this settled before National Chili Day on the 27th.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I see that, I'm gonna get some chili, you see that.
And then I guess the opt-out policy for park, then does that mean no one can opt out? Is that what that means? What does that mean exactly, the no opt-out policy?
The state is telling us that every student must have a score for the state assessment, which means there is no opting out.
And as a district, you've decided to follow, to use that no opt-out
Yes,
policy.
we're following what the state is.
So no one can say, I don't want my kid to take it.
No, we don't-
They can take it, cannot take it, they can get a 0 or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Okay.
Well, if a student is absent during the time that the test is given, I mean, that's something that is different. But if that student, she comes to school, they're taking the test.
Hey, okay, so suppose someone says, how many days are the tests? Is it 1 day? 2 days?
There's a window now, it's more than 1 day.
Okay.
Depends on the grade level.
Because I'm not bringing my child in for these number of days, and then I guess it leads to something else.
You know, don't forget that there are penalties for being truant.
Correct.
And so forth, so,
And then I guess thank you very much.
you're welcome.
And my last question is, how many snow days are in the calendar?
There are 3 snow days built into the calendar.
And we've used,
We used 2, we have 1 left.
and then I guess you start taking days away,
Days away from the spring break.
and then we start adding days.
Then we have to stop it. So no more snow. No cold weather.
It's snow on Monday, it's snow Sunday night.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, we can't.
Seeing there's no one else, we'll close the second public participation portion of the evening. And I'd like someone to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Harms, second? Second. Mr. Vita, and good evening, everyone, and we'll see you at our next board meeting here at Aldine Gymnasium on February 24th at 7 p.m. Good night.